right, here we go. We're gonna start. Thank you.
I'll get it.
Yeah, just, you're not saying what you did.
You guys are scary looking standing back there. You're scaring me right now. I'm just gonna say that.
Here's the agenda.
If you're looking for a agenda, they're up front. Good, get ready.
The following is the agenda for the regular council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes Mayor and Council and Municipal Corporation in the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. July 19th in the Municipal Building, 25 Lenox Avenue, Pompton Lakes, consistent with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. The meeting will be open for public comments and shall be in accordance with terms and conditions of the borough's municipal code and bylaws.
Please stand for a flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this mayor and council as to deliberate on the best of Pompton Lakes. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, mailed to all requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Polidori.
Here.
Councilman Begg.
Absent.
Councilman Cruz.
Absent.
Councilman Deline.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent.
Here.
Councilman Bennett.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney Mark Semeraro and our Borough Administrator Paula Cosarelli.
Okay, so we have some nice events to happen before we get into our real meeting. I'd like to bring up Mr. Delgado to explain our accreditation and how that works and what it did for our borough here in Pompton Lakes, which was a lot of work and a lot of time and energy.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I know it's an important night here, certainly for Hector, so I'll be brief. I remember that day myself, so. But anyway, I certainly wanted to make sure that I share with all those present here, the officers and the public present, the significance of the achievement from the Pompton Lakes Police Department. To add context to that, the process is so rigorous that only about 54% of the eligible law enforcement agencies in the state of New Jersey have actually achieved a state accreditation. So if you indulge me for a couple of minutes, I'd like to share with you the significance of the achievement. So the Pompton Lakes Police Department has made a commitment to adhering to best practices at the state and national level in a highly regarded law enforcement accreditation program. This program, administered to the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission, has helped to transparently demonstrate the professionalism and preparedness of state law enforcement agencies. It is purposefully designed to enhance professionalism and transparency in the state's public safety system. During these uniquely challenging times and the threat to our health and safety, encouraging law enforcement agencies to follow standardized practices and policies is a potentially life-saving and cost-effective investment of time and resources. Accreditation gives an agency a preparedness plan and a verification of excellence. Accreditation status represents a significant professional achievement. In today's law enforcement environment, the questions often asked in police departments is whether or not you're accredited. Certainly that's a question that the Pompton Lake Police Department will be able to answer in the affirmative moving forward. Now, briefly, accreditation is a process. The foundation of accreditation lies in the adoption of standards containing a clear statement of professional objectives. In the state of New Jersey, it's 112 standards, many of which require multiple proofs of compliance. It is a progressive and time-proven way to help law enforcement agencies calculate and improve their overall performances. It is a certification by an independent review and authority, that the accredited agency was carefully measured against an established set of state and national standards and has met or exceeded, and in the case of the Pompton Lake Police Department, in many instances, exceeded accepted practice in field law enforcement. And I say that, and it was actually brought up by Lieutenant Rodriguez. Typically, at the end of this rigorous process, we have an on-site assessment where we come in and we make sure that they show tangible proof of all those standards, of the 112 times that are required. And we typically find something. We certainly look. And in the case of the Pompton Lake Police Department, there were no blemishes whatsoever. So they had what we call an excellent final on-site assessment. So research shows that accredited agencies have 11% fewer police professional liability claims, 11% fewer working compensation claims, and 31 fewer auto liability claims. Moreover, municipalities that participate in a male-affiliated JIF insurance funds stand to receive substantial insurance premium discount once the department is actually accredited. But besides those fiscal advantages, accreditation provides objective evidence of an agency's commitment to excellence in leadership, resource management, and service delivery. Government officials can be more confident in the agency's ability to operate efficiently and meet community needs. And accreditation embodies the precepts of community-oriented policing. It creates a forum in which citizens and police work together to address the community needs. And finally, I'll say officers in accredited agencies can take pride that they have been objectively recognized for their professionalism and adherence to the highest standard. Now, in the report, and I'll paraphrase in closing, under the leadership of Chief Derek Clark, a high level of competence, leadership, and professionalism is evident within the agency. So it is the opinion of the assessment team that the Pompton Lakes Police Department is a highly regarded, professional, and committed agency, which exemplifies all of the tenets of law enforcement accreditation at the state and national level. Therefore, it is indeed my honor here tonight, on behalf of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Commission, to congratulate Chief Derek Clark, Accreditation Manager Lieutenant Anthony Rodriguez, the members of the Pompton Lake Police Department, many of whom I see here present tonight, the mayor, the council, and those citizens that they so proudly serve, for achieving accreditation, joining a very, very exclusive group of law enforcement agencies in the state of New Jersey that have made this important achievement and commitment to law enforcement. So at this time, this is where you get to clap for your police department. I'd like to present you with the... Congratulations, Mayor.
Dirk, our chief would like to say something.
Before I leave, I'm obviously, Lieutenant and myself are up here accepting the award, but I know of all the hard work, a lot of things I put my department through in order to achieve this. It was a very long commitment. It took us, a year and a half to 2 years it takes you to earn this award. A lot of policies were read, a lot of things were changed in a very positive way. But I'd like to thank the entire department for all the hard work they put in so that we could achieve this award. It was a team effort, and I appreciate that. Especially, I would like to thank Lieutenant Rodriguez. As the accreditation manager, he had to do a lot of extra work and went above and beyond when he volunteered to take that on, as well as my administrative staff and also the detective department, because they probably had one of the major changes to the department had to happen on their end, and they had to do a very thorough audit of our evidence room, and it was time consuming. But I would like to thank you all. This award is for all of you. Thank you.
And just to add to that, I can tell you that one of the first things that the chief said to me when he became chief here in town was, I want to get accredited. And to his credit, he did push hard to do that. And I think, I've always said it, in my opinion, there's no question we have one of the finest police departments in the area. They're here, they're made up of residents and outside people, and it's a good combination of a mix of people. And that all goes down to the leadership. So this accreditation helps us, helps the borough, helps you guys do your job, and the time and effort, because I was around when they did this accreditation. It was a lot of work by you guys, and especially the supervisory staff, to get this done. So I thank everybody, and thank you for their coming and presenting it to us. So thank you. Okay. Now we get on to some more fun. Is that up here, Liz? Is the,
I have this right here, but you have to do the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz, when you're ready.
Resolution 23-151, authorizing the appointment of police officer to the Pompton Lakes Police Department, Hector Alcantara.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Okay. Councilman Deline?
the motion?
It says roll call here, so I'm going roll call, but do you want a
Is this just an
motion?
appointment?
Yeah.
Okay. No, then it's,
Roll call, right?
yeah.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Did someone make
Yeah,
a motion?
Yep.
now?
Do we need to make a motion?
If we could have a motion.
Could I have a motion?
Look at the code.
Motion.
All right, who was the motion? Council President Polidori?
Second.
Second. Councilman Bennett? Roll call, please.
Okay. Councilman Deline?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Councilman Bennett?
Yes. Okay, so now, would you Hector please step forward with whoever else you would like to bring up with you?
Just watch that one.
Bring your family up. What do I look for you? Congratulations. I state your name.
I, Bill Cantor,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state.
under the authority of the people.
Under the authority of the people,
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of
perform all the duties of
police officer
police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. So as we're standing, adding another officer is always a nice job, and, you know, like I said before, we have the best group of people here working together, you're coming into a great team, and you know that already, because you've been involved here for a while. I thank all of you guys, well, I got you here, for what you do in the town, and the commitment you have to the town, so thank you. Congratulations again.
Thanks, sir.
You can just, okay, thank you. Okay, now's your time to leave, or you can stay and listen to the whole meeting. I welcome you to stay. Don't run out so quick.
Thank you.
He was a dispatcher.
Oh, dispatch, okay, yeah. Okay, so, remember.
Okay. Can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments? So moved. Councilman Deline? Second. Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Please step up.
Mike Simone, 25 West Leonard Ave. First, thank you for working with this new project for redevelopment. I think it's a big plus for the borough, so I appreciate you guys all approving it. Secondly, I think it's also an excellent thing to have where we have an accredited police department. I think that was a wonderful thing for the department to do. You guys should all be very proud of, and I know you are, of what they do and how they do it, and now that we have the accreditation, it's even better. So, 2 pluses tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Ready hitting 443 Montclair Avenue. I'm also in favor of the new project. Glad you see you guys are going through with it, and hope it turns out to be something beneficial for the town. Had a question on resolution 23153.
23153. That's what?
Spider Lantern.
Oh, okay, yes, we'll pull that one aside and talk about it. Unless you have a question now you want to ask.
No, I was just curious about it. I just, I'm looking to see if it's something we need, and just curious about it for Shade Tree Commission and what you're doing. forward.
Well, when we get the resolutions, we'll talk about it. Unless you want to talk about it now, we can, whatever you want.
No, if you're gonna discuss it a little bit, yeah, that's all.
Okay, yeah, we'll discuss it a little bit, sure.
And I also want to congratulate the police department on a job well done.
Okay, thank you.
Accreditation. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address? I'm sorry, step up. Yeah, go ahead. Whoever wants to come. Come on, Mr. Popoff, you come on up.
Good evening, George Popov, 1104 Colfax Avenue. All I appreciate the email, but after 4.5 months telling me that you're going to work with another title company isn't moving anything ahead. I'm sure that your legal people know about eminent domain, they know about abatements, and this pipe has been there for at least 30 to 40 years. It's on all of the surveys, as I will provide to you tonight, going back well into the 20th century. I don't understand why this, again, is becoming a stopping point with nothing getting done.
So, Mr.
No
Popoff,
time frame.
please address it to me, and then I'll
I'm
try to
sorry,
help
there's
you.
no time frame, there's no plan, and you're going over old, you're replowing the field that's already been plowed. I was able to come up with the H2M, construction plan, going back to, let me just get you the right date, I don't want to be misquoted on this, 2013. This is ridiculous. Why am I standing here 10 years later, listening to the same dribble and being told that nothing can be done? We're moving ahead by hiring a title company. You don't need a title company, you need an attorney to go in and get a judgment if Mr. Babbage is still objecting to this.
So let me answer that, please, if I can.
Please.
We, by law, have to have a survey done on the property that shows there was an easement. If we can't show that, then the next step will be an attorney. Oh, you know what, hold on, let me finish, please.
Sure.
Everything that you have is on a tax record, doesn't count as an evidence of a survey. We have to have an actual survey that shows that.
I do have 2 surveys.
I'm sorry, title search, I'm sorry, I used the word wrong, title
What
search.
title search? You're never going to find a document where
I
someone
understand, and I read your email, and I agree with what was in your email.
Okay, that's right, I did copy Your Honor.
Yes, so I understand what you're saying, but there's steps that we have to follow. We can't just jump steps.
So what have you been doing for 12 years?
I can't answer for the 12 years before, but I can answer right now, we are moving forward. Okay, the next step for us, after we hear back from the company, which should be soon, then we'll have to address with our attorneys the next step of how to move forward to identify the easement, or if not identified. I can't speak about the easement, I don't know about the easement.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
I can't speak about the easement because I don't know about the easement.
I'm not an expert on easements either.
Right.
I'm sure the attorneys do know what they're talking about, and I'm sure you have competent legal advice.
Right, so I mean, if you want to say anything now, or you want to wait till we find out?
Paul and I discussed it, and Paul was involved and did secure some title documents, but our review of them, if they weren't clear and they were not definitive.
Right, unfortunate, that's unfortunate.
To go further back in time. They searched back to 1947, and I've asked them to dive deeper to identify so that we know for sure if there's an easement or not. We can't go on public property without some kind of an agreement or an easement in place.
And I understand what you put in your
It
email.
comes into place
On private properties.
right by common law. The easement takes place just by the sheer longevity of that pipe being there.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
It is true.
No.
And
That's been held up in court several times. You want me to cite you the cases?
Look at,
I'm not trying to teach you the law. I know you know it better than I do, but this is ridiculous. Again, this should not be the
If
law.
everything was a general rule, there'd be no need for attorneys. There are specifics with respect to when easements occur. Given the nature of the pipe, it's not unlikely that the easement could have occurred before 1947. No one instructed this title agency to stop at 1947, and when we realized that, Paula actually brought it to my attention, we had to get someone else to do it, or actually not someone else.
Well, why did they stop in 47?
we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't
You
know.
But it's just like you hire third-party contractors to do things. Sometimes they don't do what they're asked to do. In this particular case, we don't know why they didn't do what we asked them to do. Maybe the record stopped at 1947. and there wasn't nothing beforehand, find that awfully hard to imagine. So, give us an explanation, and we've asked for that.
In what time frame, sir?
We asked for everything to be done as soon as possible, but people don't jump for us.
I didn't expect you to jump, but is it gonna be in the next 20 days, 30 days, next
ought-
year?
It ought to be less than that.
Yeah,
It ought to be
we're-
a week and a
Yeah,
half.
and let me understand, your email that you sent, and I spoke to some other people about that,
Thank
is
you.
truth. There is truth to what you put into that email, and that the road was ended there, and it didn't go across, and that might be part of this whole issue, but we can't speak to that till we have someone tell us that. So just, I'm asking you, and I know you don't want to hear this, but you just have to give us a little time. We are working every day. I have conversations with the administrator probably daily about this. It's not something we're taking lightly. And we understand that there's issues with two different neighbors having two different opinions here, and that's gonna have to be addressed at some point.
It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
In your mind, it is, and his it isn't. So we have to get that right now.
What is the issue in Mr. Babbage's?
I don't know. I can't speak for him. He's not here.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we need the title company to tell us either we can't get that information, or I made a mistake and I can go back further. That's what we're waiting on right now.
I'm at a total loss. I can't believe in 12 years, we're still talking about getting the easements, getting the permission, all that.
But let's go forward and make this
Here's
happen.
my paper. Thank you, Paula. All right, I've got nothing to say, it's just,
And we're trying.
You guys from the process, you never come to any sort of a conclusion. When's the resolution gonna be? Are you
Well-
saying if I come back here at the end of August, it's gonna be done, we're gonna have an
I
answer?
can't tell you that, but I
The
would
next
hope
step?
it was. I would hope we would have an answer by then.
I hope we have an answer on the easement by then.
Yes, on the easement, yes. And then we go from there.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address? I saw another hand up before. Please step up.
Dennis Gilbert, 158 Mountainside Drive, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. I have a question that was never answered, probably a few meetings ago, referring to Councilman Begg. I see he's not here again. Wish him the best. I hope he's getting healthy. But my question was about how the law is written. And there was a vote that I remember that I put a lot of council members on the spot up here. And I never got an answer. The attorney wasn't here when I asked.
What was your question?
The question was, well, actually, it wasn't a question. I read the law out loud, and the vote seemed like it wasn't necessary, according to the law. But there was a different attorney here that night, and he...
No, the attorney was here when we had this. Gunther was.
No,
Was Gunther or
there was a different attorney. When I came...
When he
asked
the question.
I asked a question, I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to know if I was right or not. I read the law out loud, and nobody could give me an answer.
Well, I need to know the question, so I need to know what you're asking.
But it wasn't a question. I read that the law with the 8-week rule, you stated that it was the law and that had to be voted on that night. Had to be a vote for Mr. Begg to either stay.
For
on
an
council.
extension, yes.
But that's not what the law stated. Now, I
So-
wanted to know if anybody looked up the law.
Yeah, I don't know, let our attorney address that a little bit if you want.
What exactly does the law state? That's my question.
What the law states is that 8 weeks of unexcused absence creates a municipal vacancy. So on the evening of May 10th, it was brought to my attention that we're coming upon, well, we knew that we're approaching the 8-week period. It came to my attention shortly before the meeting that Councilman Begg wasn't going to be able to participate. So at that point in time, in order to avoid a vacancy from coming to fore, if the council, the governing body, didn't want a vacancy to come to fore, there'd have to be an excused absence. That's what was brought to the attention, to everyone. So at that point in time, the prudent thing to do, if the governing body did not want there to be a vacancy occurring by default, was to give an excused absence. That's what happened on May 10th.
Well, that's not how I understood it. I understood that there had to be a vote right then and there in order for him to remain on the board.
Yes, it had to be a vote for an
But that's
extension.
not what the law states.
Well, I-
Well, I think as it turns out that he was excused, so we in fact voted on that for nothing. Is that not the case?
That's probably true.
It turned
It isn't
out,
probably true, it's true.
what had turned out to be the case is, and it was an unusual circumstance. I've never seen it before in 23 years of practicing law. Meetings had minutes that indicated an excuse was granted without there being any motion of anybody on the governing body to grant an excused absence. But then, when the minutes were transposed, people voted to adopt the minutes acknowledging the excused absence. So in preparation for this meeting, when the minutes were reviewed, just to confirm a timeline, I saw in the minutes that the minutes that were adopted indicated that the councilman was excused. So it's unusual. There apparently was a pattern in practice of the borough to handling excused absences in that fashion. I've never seen that before.
So he was excused.
That seems to be the case by virtue of the minutes.
Okay.
But I was in those council meetings,
Then
and
there
there was
shouldn't have been a
no...
vote that night. That's what I was getting at, and I couldn't
Well,
get an answer.
no, the reality is that as an attorney, I'm here to give advice to make sure that things don't happen unexpectedly. So the prudent thing to do that night was to have a vote for an excused absence in light of the fact that I didn't see these minutes. And it's not something that ordinarily would occur. There should be technically a motion, but in my opinion, if the matter were brought before a court, a judge would find that by virtue of the minutes, there was an excused absence being granted. And I don't know, and I wouldn't venture to discuss this among my client with the governing body. I don't know what was in their mind, but I have to assume at the time that they adopted the minutes that they agreed with the contents of the minutes, which included granting an excused absence. But there wasn't a motion, and as you will recall, on May 10th, I recommended that if they did not want a vacancy to occur, that there should be a motion. And that's the proper, normal way that this is done in 23 years of law. That's the only way I've seen it done. I come from an attorney, a law firm with 60 attorneys. Probably 20 of them represent municipalities in this capacity. That's the way that they always do it. So there was no real reason to think that the minutes would be different than the minutes that I participated in, but they were. So the prudent advice was to vote for an excused absence, and I don't know why that would be upsetting to anybody, because assuming that the governing body voted to grant, intentionally voted for the minutes that granted an excused absence, granting an additional excused absence for the leave would seem to be consistent with that intent.
Yeah, you're making my head hurt, Mr.
Well, how was it not caught earlier that we were saying excused at every meeting if that wasn't the right protocol?
And that's a good
Well,
question, but that's 15 years. We've done this for many, many years this
The answer
way.
But the attorney that caught it has been here for 2, and we've been doing that the entire time. It should have been caught sooner. We wouldn't have gone
You
through
never
that.
voted on.
We've always used that
Right, we
language
have.
as part of adoption of minutes. Anytime we do roll call, if a member is not present, I was not present for the April 25th or 26th meeting, or 23rd, actually. I can go back to those minutes, and along with Councilman Begg, who was, I'm sure not there, and I can guarantee we were both excused, because that's the language we have commonly used.
Correct.
Anytime a council person.
And it might be wrong.
But should it not have been corrected if it was wrong?
We didn't know it was wrong until
We didn't, I don't think there's anybody up here that thinks that by the clerk using the word excused, that they were excusing an absence.
Yeah, but it was explained that it was the law. It had to be done.
I explained the
that
law
night.
accurately then, and I explained it now, and your recitation of it is not accurate.
Yeah, it is accurate.
No, it isn't.
It is,
No,
because
it
he
isn't.
has an excused absence. It specifically states in
I
the
just
law.
explained to you,
an
sir,
unexcused
why
absence.
the-
Then there has to be a vote for 8 weeks of unexcused absences, not excused absence.
There wasn't a vote for unexcused absences.
That's what I thought there was, that's what.
There was no vote, there was no
You
vote.
don't have a vote for
Right, you
unexcused
don't have a
absences.
vote,
I
so
don't
you're wrong
understand
there.
what it is that
So you're
you're
That's what
mistaken
the
there.
law states, 8 weeks of unexcused absences.
But it's not voted on, you just said
That's
voted
what the
on.
vote was about. because
No,
he
the vote was an
not-
extension of his job, and you gotta let me finish. The vote was the extension to extend his absentee to a date. It wasn't about an excused or unexcused,
It
because
was
we didn't
to avoid
know,
a vacancy.
we didn't know
by the
about that
law.
back then.
But why did you say it was the law? Had to be done that night?
Because then he would have been removed.
What I said.
Why would he be removed? It's not the law.
Eight weeks would have passed.
8 weeks would have passed,
He was excused,
but
it would not have
for
passed.
an
Dennis is right.
unexcused absence. You're telling me I'm wrong. I'm right. I know I'm right. I read the law. You're the lawyer. Maybe you should read the law again.
So I pretty much, I'm
I'm-
sure,
no,
I'm sorry, you said something, and I'm going to address it.
You-
The
you've been addressing
reality,
it, you're
sir,
giving me like
the
lawyer's
reality,
jargon.
no, I'm giving you an explanation.
He listened to you.
And
now
I
listen.
I know, and
explained
you're spinning
why.
it, I know you're trying to.
All right, let him
no,
talk
You're trying to
first.
spin it.
Let him talk.
I understand, he doesn't need to say it anymore.
No, he does, because you asked him a question.
No, you're-
I'm gonna ask you to sit down if you're not gonna let us speak from this side.
Go ahead. Go ahead, I'll listen.
For probably the third time, the reason why I had believed that there wasn't an excused absence is because up until May 10th, the governing body did not vote to grant an excused absence to Councilman Begg, okay? We were under the belief that Councilman Begg was going to appear at that meeting, which did not raise any specter of him having an unexcused absence. In the minutes leading up to the meeting, it was brought to my attention that he was not going to be participating in the meeting. So I, as the attorney for the borough, advised the governing body that in order to avoid any issue of his vacancy, which at that point in time, I believed he was already facing unexcused absences, again, because there was no vote granting him an excused absence, that they should, that evening, file a motion to give him an excused absence.
So now, I think I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you were under the impression that he had unexcused absences.
Because the manner in which the borough documented an excused absence was without there being a motion that was voted on, which is the way that I would prefer it to occur. It's the way that I've been trained for it to occur. It's the way that I've seen it done in 20 some odd years of practicing law. And there was no motion. And the minutes documented the word excused, which was utilized by the clerk as a matter of practice in this borough. But
So we're gonna blame it on Liz?
We're not blaming
no
anyone.
one's blaming anybody.
You're blaming someone by
This is an
saying that.
explanation, sir. That the word excuse was utilized routinely when people were simply absent, without a vote of the governing body, which it ought to be, to grant the excused absence. Then, the minutes were generated that were voted on, and at that point in time, the governing body ratified excused absences. I never thought to look at the minutes to ratify something that was not voted on in the earlier meeting. So of course, I didn't look at it for that purpose, nor did I catch it.
So we could be fair to say there was a mistake made that night. Would that be fair to say?
Well, we were going to continue the discussion tonight because today was the day we were supposed to move forward with the next steps decision, which we cannot do because the vote should not have been taken and carries no weight at this point. It was of no use.
No,
would
so
you
what's
say?
gonna happen now is.
No, it was of use,
It was-
because if the intent
No, well,
was,
the 8 weeks starts tonight, doesn't it?
if you,
So that was for nothing.
what was for nothing?
The
The vote.
8-week extension that we just granted was for nothing. We're starting the 8 weeks tonight?
Well, it was for nothing because, at the time of the vote, there was a belief that the 8 weeks expired. So from
Which is
that-
no longer relevant.
Correct.
So we did vote for nothing.
It's no longer relevant because what we're doing
Does the 8
is,
weeks expire today?
the 8 weeks
Never started.
Well, I'm not sure about
Never,
the
never
What happened?
started, never
the 8
started.
weeks.
It never started.
Never started.
So the intent of the vote was to start an 8-week clock. Did the vote serve
No,
that purpose?
the intent was not to start an 8-week quad, the
It
intent was to give
grant
an extension,
A stay.
An extension,
An
which we
extension.
put a timeline on for this meeting.
but not because of the 8 weeks, had nothing to
Okay,
do
no,
with
not
it.
8 weeks, but it was extended to this meeting.
Yes.
So that
Correct.
carries no merit.
Sure it does.
Well, yeah,
It carries
carried it to the
merit,
meeting.
but at the expiration of that,
Well, it doesn't. It wasn't a good vote.
no, it was a good vote. It was a good
We
vote.
voted to give him an extension to this date, which we voted
He
on. and
didn't
we
need
did.
an extension.
He did, he did.
He was excused. He didn't
Well,
need an extension.
that's where the miscommunication.
We can
There was
wordsmith
there was
this
a mistake
however we
made,
want.
that's all
It
I'm
was
trying to-
not done correctly.
So let me put this into context, okay? The public's understanding, our understanding of the vote we took on May 10th was to grant an 8-week extension, which fundamentally expired today, with the idea that Councilman Begg would be back on the dais or that extension of that time period would be end, and fundamentally, we have to make a decision on whether to remove.
Right.
We don't have that decision to make because there's that 8-week extension gets us nothing because there's no decision to make because 8 weeks hasn't even started of this vacancy now. And I think that's the council president's point, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion from the public and even among the dais has come in of saying we voted and today was going to be another decision point. Now, whether we gave him another extension or whether we made that hard decision on what to do with Bill at that particular time, it was supposed to be tonight. Now we're being advised that there's no decision to be made tonight because everything else that occurred prior to, because of the way that we handle absences as excused versus just absent. But fundamentally, the 8 weeks really doesn't start until today. So there's no decision point. So the vote that we took to make the decision point tonight, when there's no decision point, there's something that's missing in that regard. I
Thank
think
you,
that
and you
needs
are
to be
correct,
brought up.
because we walked in, and at 7:25, we were presented with information that we were rushed to vote through. It made some of us look bad. We were put on the spot. At one point, I asked for additional information, and I was interrupted and told not to ask any more questions, that we would be voting, and we went through that for absolutely
You
nothing.
voted no, correct?
And we voted for no reason. I voted no because I will never vote on something unless I am
I'm just
given
making it
all of the,
clear.
please stop interrupting me.
You're interrupting
Until
me, go ahead.
I was speaking, so you interrupted me. I don't want to be pushed into voting for things until I'm given all of the information I need to do so. And that doesn't happen at 7:25 when we're pushed at 7:30 to start discussing it.
And I have to
It should
follow-
not have taken place, it was not necessary, and it carried no merit. So we did absolutely nothing that night. We accomplished nothing.
I have
You
to
can
follow
say
the-
whatever you
I have
want,
to follow
but
the
you
advice
are
of my
wrong.
attorney, and my attorney said...
You want to blame the attorney?
I'm not blaming anybody.
You-
And here's the other thing, the date that was mentioned was the wrong date completely. It wasn't tonight, it
Then
was
pay
last
better
Friday.
attention. You want to sit there, pay
That's
better
not about paying
attention.
attention. We've been doing this way for 15 years. This is not something that just happened this week. Everyone who hasn't been at this dais has been excused.
I asked
And that is
you
wrong.
for more time to ask more
And the
questions,
attorney
and
said
you
we had to make a
interrupted me,
decision.
and I will share the video
And you just
of how you
interrupted me,
interrupted
so please do
me
not
and
interrupt.
didn't let me get the information I needed to make an informed decision, because that is what you did.
Okay, and you made your vote. Okay, so you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
So, there was an anomaly with the way that the borough keeps its records, and I made what I thought was the best decision that evening, or I should say, the best recommendation of prudent advice at that point in time, because it was my understanding at that point in time that the governing body would not want to see a vacancy just occur. So I gave them the advice that if they didn't want the vacancy to occur, to grant the extension. Now, could the extension have been shorter? It could have been, but there was dialogue and people extended it to this particular date, whatever that date was. It could have been for one council meeting, 2 council meetings. As it turns out, the process that they were following for extension, they had granted every council meeting up to that council meeting. So they could have just continued doing it. At that point in time, I didn't realize that's how they were doing it. If I were to be arguing in court, there is an argument against doing it that way. The proper way, in my opinion, is to do it by way of motion, which wasn't done. That's why it was not observed by me.
And we did learn something. Now we know moving forward. As an example today, we said absent instead of excused. So we have never done that before. That's the first time we've done that. So now we know moving forward, this is the way we have to do this. It wasn't done on purpose by anyone. This is the way we've done it for 20 years.
And by you and the clerk using the word excused, that's not a motion. A motion is the way that we did on May 10th. That's the way, in my opinion, it ought to be done. It wasn't done prior. That's why we acted the way we did on May 10th.
Okay, so there's a loophole. I got another,
You don't have any more time, I'm sorry. 5 minutes.
Follow up,
You can ask, you're done with your talk time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please step up.
Lisa Kilberg, 158 Mountainside Drive. I have a question. The property at 180 Whitney, it was brought up at the last meeting that there was,
You need to talk to the building department.
so I can't ask the question.
I don't have any information on it, so you have, the people who have that information would be the building department.
So you don't know, so none of you know
It's been
whether the
discussed a
shed
few
that was put up on that property?
I don't know
Was-
we're up to date where they are with the whole situation, no. I don't know every property that's been written about.
Okay, so if I call the building department, they'd be able to tell me?
The resident was served with a notice of violation. The shed has to be removed from borough property. It was in fact built on borough property.
So I don't know where she's getting that information, but that's what she's.
From the building department.
Okay, that's what I'm
I actually have
saying.
a copy of the notice of violation.
So then she contacted.
So anyone can contact the building department and ask that question?
I don't think,
I thought I would ask it here because I
I
didn't
don't think you
realize.
can, I don't know, and Paul, do you know if they can
We
answer?
have to submit an Oprah
You're right.
request, we just can't give
Oh, okay.
information unless it's on your property, when we could certainly put in an Oprah request for building permits for particular properties.
Oh, okay, well, that's why I asked in here, I figured somebody would.
Right, so you can ask Oprah. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
David Leachy, 54 Montague Ave. Also want to piggyback off the situation with 180 Whitney, and I understand that you guys might not have the information or building. How long would that take to get that information?
Oprah, you have 7 business days, I believe, for a request, an easy request to be able to determine something like accessing a building permit.
Okay, because he had requested that at the last council meeting, but nobody told us anything.
Oh, I wasn't here for
I
the last
don't
building.
recall.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the last council
Yes,
meeting.
you brought it up last time, and so basically, anybody for a few years can build whatever they want on town property, it's okay. Won't get fined, won't do anything, but I'll have to tear it down in a few years.
No, there's processes in place, and there's dates that have to be hit, and if things aren't done, then there's fines sent out, he has a chance to come to court and fight it, so it's a process. This is not a two-week thing.
Yeah, this was very easily done illegally on every part. Everybody knows it. It was on Facebook everywhere with aerial pictures.
There's a lot of properties in town that have a lot of illegal things on them.
Sure.
So,
I'm
you
sure
know,
there
we have a
are,
part-time,
But this is now what's getting brought up in front of the town.
and then it's being addressed at the building department where it should be.
I don't think there's a lot of illegal structures built on Hirschfield Park.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fences that are incorrect, there's a lot of many things
A
out
little bit
there.
more than a fence.
We're all the same.
We'll all speak to the building department then, because we know it's very illegal, everything that's done.
Yeah, and we're addressing it. It's not, that, you know, and I can't speak for the building department, but they'll reach area times where there'll be fines put in place, you'll be called into court. You know, those things have to happen.
Sure.
But
because
it takes time for that to
If
happen.
a structure is on a property for any amount of time, you know it gets reassessed, that there's higher taxes, there's a lot of things involved, but.
And maybe a deal was worked out between this resident
Right,
and
we'll
the
have to
building
speak to
department,
them.
and I don't know that, so I don't know.
Well, then, I think that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, was that one? Was Council President Polidori. All in favor?
Aye.
Against. Okay, consent agenda. Anybody need anything? Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped all over the place here.
Did you want to discuss the lantern flying?
Well, we have to do this.
Resolution?
Well, I was gonna get to that one during the resolutions. Yeah, let's do the bills and claims list whenever you're ready.
Use the minutes.
With the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to approve the following minutes, regular meeting minutes, June 28th, 2023.
Mayor, there has to be a correction based on our discussions tonight. The minutes say that the minutes of June 28th, 2023 for the regular council meeting refer to Councilman William Begg and Bobby Cruz were excused. They should now reflect the word absent.
But that, you're talking about tonight's meeting or was Bobby not here last meeting?
She's talking about.
There are minutes.
The minutes.
Okay.
I think that you're correct, Councilman.
Thank you.
And I'm just asking, was Bobby not here? I wasn't here.
Oh, Bobby wasn't here either.
Okay, so yes, then please
May I ask
correct
a
that, yeah.
question?
Go ahead.
But I did say excused, I didn't say absent, so the.
Yeah, you stated excused, but there wasn't a vote.
There was no vote, so based on what our attorney told us today in an email, has
I
to be
didn't say
changed.
absent.
No, you said,
But they were physically absent.
Observations of the meeting. So I think you're just amending. If I'm not mistaken, Mark, she has the ability to amend now the minutes of what
Yeah,
actually
well,
happened.
these minutes have not yet been.
They haven't
They haven't been
adopted
approved,
yet.
yeah, so we
But
can,
Councilman
change
Day was excused by virtue of the May 10 motion. Councilman Cruz was simply absent.
But does the May 10 motion carry weight if he had been excused up until that point?
Sure, it does.
We excused someone that didn't need to be excused.
No. His absence was excused on a council meeting by council meeting basis up to May 10th. At May 10th, there was a motion to excuse his absence prospectively through tonight's meeting.
Okay.
so you want
That
to,
covered, so
Where
I
you wanna
suggest
change
that
it
the motion.
motion to change Councilman Cruz if he was not
Yes.
here, he was not here, I'm assuming,
Correct.
to be
okay,
absent.
so I'll make, yeah,
It would
okay.
just be Councilman.
So it would just be Councilman Cruz?
Correct.
And he would be absent?
Absent.
And so I think that and I guess your motion is to amend
The
and
minutes.
adopt as amended, and there
Yes.
should be a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Council President Polidori,
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Against? So moving forward, and we learned that this morning, this afternoon we did that, it would be an absent when someone's not here. So that's how,
Unless the council
Unless the
intends
council
to
will, right.
excuse, in which case there has to be a motion and the governing
Has to
body
vote.
has to vote.
correct. Okay.
So can you just clarify that further? If Eric calls us and says he would like to go to Florida at the next council meeting, can I make a motion to grant him an excuse? Are you going to Florida?
You
I'm
can,
going tomorrow.
you could, and if you
You're
wanted.
excused.
If you wanted to excuse him, that's what would have to happen. But the significance of an excuse versus an absence is only realized if you're approaching the 8 weeks of unexcused absence. So if he's going to be out for one meeting or even two meetings, that's 2 or 4 weeks. There's no threat of the municipal vacancy law kicking in. If at some point in time there's a threat for the municipal vacancy law to kick in, at that point in time, if the governing body did not want it to, then it would be imperative upon them to make such a motion.
I hate to belabor this point, but I do have a question regarding the municipal vacancy law. If a council person were to, I mean, fundamentally, in the summer, you can miss 2 council meetings in a row, and it could get up to 8 weeks.
That's correct.
So it's very close, very easily. Does it only apply to public council meetings, or if that council person was fulfilling their council person duties as a liaison by going to a Board of Education meeting, as that liaison, or Recreation Commission, or things like that?
No, it's a council meeting.
So it's strictly the council meetings?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you bear with me 1 second.
That's a good question. So if you miss 2 council meetings but go to all your other,
Correct, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
And you're right, the only time that would take effect is in the summer, when we had 2 meetings that could go 8 weeks. Normally, it'd be on 2 weeks there, so there's another chance for someone to show up at that meeting.
Yes.
But in the summer, it could happen, yeah.
He's not. He's not excused.
Yeah, the 8-week absence period begins at the first council meeting that's missed. If that individual is participating in their duties as a council person, I think that would arguably stop it.
Say that again?
I think if the person's engaging in other activities, certainly appearing at a council meeting would be such an activity, then that would stop it.
But not going to a meeting wouldn't stop it, like a flood advisory board meeting.
That's what he's saying, it would, as long as they're.
I think that
engaging in
there's a
other
strong
duties.
argument for that. That I would end up.
Well, that's a big
having to-
difference.
Okay.
I would have to look.
So can you research that? Because that could make a difference where someone that misses 2 council meetings in the summer but makes the Shade Tree Commission meeting, he theoretically is back in. Is that what you're, basically is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's, that distinction I'm gonna end up having to research.
All right, so we'll get an answer to that. Is that okay? Okay. Where are we? Authorizations, bills, and claims.
Resolution authorizing payment of bills in the amount of $3,708,25.
Motion to approve the following bill list.
So moved.
Councilman Blind,
Second?
Council President Polidori, all in favor?
No, that was Maria.
Councilwoman
Sorry.
Kent?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, petitions, anybody need anything removed? We're gonna talk about, which one was that?
Lantern flag,
We were also gonna, oh yeah, Lantern.
153, Mayor.
53, okay, 153, we're gonna have a discussion about that. Anybody else need anything else removed? No, okay, go ahead, Liz.
Just which one? I'm sorry.
153, we're gonna have discussion.
Okay. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda, now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 23-152 through 23-154. We're going to remove 23-153.
Okay, motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Councilman Line,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, 153, Liz, want to read that one?
Resolution approving Chapter 159 PL 1948, resolution pursuant to NJSA 40A4-87, providing for the insertion of items of revenue in the 2023 budget spotted lantern program, $15,000.
You want to add anything about where we got that money from and how we're doing that?
That money was a grant money, federal grant money as part of the program that is fed through the state to hopefully control the lantern flag program. I can only hope that other towns are getting it because I don't think the lantern flags know that they have to stop at our borders. I'm just, honestly, we're going to be treating the lantern flies. And, I would hope that other communities that we're adjacent to are doing the same thing. Because the only way to stop it is if all these communities apply for the money. This actually, I think, came from the county, from the federal, and it's being, managed by the county. So it has to be an additional item of revenue because it's not included in our budget. So whenever you include money in the budget, you have to do a Chapter 159 amendment so that the state understands that we're increasing the budget by $15,000 because we're going to take in this money, even though it's a method of reporting grant money, what's coming in and what's going out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Liz, a motion to approve Resolution 153.
So moved.
Council President Polidori,
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, for second readings. Now we're going to table ordinance 23-26, correct?
Yes. To make a motion.
You have to have a motion.
Can I have a motion for that, please?
Motion to table 23-26.
Council President Polidori?
Can I ask Council President, could you have your motion specify carried to the next council meeting? Because we do need an exact date in order to.
What's the date of the next
avoid-
council meeting?
When's the next council meeting?
Council meeting is September 13th? No,
August.
August 16th.
16th, I think.
August 16th. I would like to make a motion to table ordinance 23-26 to the August 16th council meeting.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, 23-27, there's one area read.
Ordinance 23-27, an ordinance approving and adopting the senior housing redevelopment plan.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-27.
So moved.
Council President Polidori, Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this project? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-27.
Motion.
Councilman Devine, Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 23-27 for final adoption.
So moved. Did you open it for public session?
We did.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm not writing the numbers.
Okay. I'm sorry, who was the,
I made the motion.
Councilman Devine, have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Dewan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Ordinance 23-28, an ordinance appropriating $2,362,894 and authorizing the issuance of $1,611,615 bonds or notes of the borough for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Borough of Pompton Lakes in the County of Passaic, New Jersey.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-28.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-28.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 23-28 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second?
Council President Polidori, roll call, please.
Councilman Dewan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Where I'm going to start? I'm going to start with the Pompton Lakes Police Department is looking for crossing guards. If anybody is interested in being a crossing guard at $20.54 an hour with some minimal benefits, it's basically working 3 hours a day, and you have the same time frame as a school on off and on. Please contact the police department and fill out an application. Or you can contact Lieutenant Kopacki, also, he's the one in charge of that. I got some very good news from Congressman Pasquale's office. Each congressperson has some what they call soft money or appropriation money to use at their discretion in the towns that they cover. We had put in a grant to put in for $500,000 to redo our library. I got a call yesterday from them saying we've been approved for the $500,000 grant to redo our library. That's a nice grant from the congressman, I gotta tell you. That's $500,000, it's a big number. We can do a lot. Our library, as we all know, is a historic building, and we do have some issues with that, with the building and in the windows and the sills, and, you know, maybe we can even revamp it a little bit inside. Now, we just put the elevator in and another bathroom, so we've put some money into the building already. So I gotta thank the congressman. It hasn't been signed on the dotted line yet, but I did get a call telling us that, expected this to happen. So I'm very appreciative of that, and that's a nice number for us here in Pompton Lakes. I will be speaking at the camp tomorrow for all the camp kids. Why the 4-year-old's going to ask me about being mayor, I have no idea, but they will be asking me questions. The camp has been running great. We have 175 kids. I think Councilwoman Kent will speak more about the camp. A lot of time and effort goes into this camp, and it's been, you know, a pretty rainy summer, so we've had to maneuver a lot to get these kids in and out of the weather because we don't have a place that the town is responsible for to put them in. So I have to thank the Elks. I have to thank the school for lending us the space to do what we do in there, so thank them for that. We had a meeting, we've had numerous meetings with the county on the project you just heard about, which is the senior housing. For the people who weren't here at the earlier meeting, we were looking at where the county garage is now and putting in a senior housing complex there. It'll be about 50 units, 1-bedroom units. It'll be set priority-wise in a point system, but our residents would get more points, meaning Pompton Lakes would come first, and Pompton Lakes veterans would be even above that. We're hoping to, because there is a waiting list at our senior housing now for about 2 to 3 years, so we're hoping a lot of those people will then come over to this new property that's being built. Part of that also will be, and we're in discussions now, and the administrator and I have met a couple times to discuss how we're going to revamp the recycling center. It looks like we might be able to get a two-way one road in and one road out into the recycling center when they redo this whole project, which is going to be at the county garage. There'll be a new salt shed that We keep our salt in the county. I had worked out a deal with them about 2 years ago when we were speaking to them, saying they were going to remove the salt dome completely because they moved everything down to Route 23. And I said, guys, first of all, if you remove that dome, that affects us because we keep our salt there. But secondly, you're going to drive all the way down to Route 23 when you have to salt Wanacue and Pompton Lakes and West Milford. Why not keep the dome up there? And then you have a place to get your salt. They agreed to that. So, this project is going to move forward pretty quickly once the plans start going. It's made to be a small complex. There's not a lot of retail component to it. The one retail that they might have is a large meeting room, where they've already promised, and it will be hopefully written into the agreement, that the town and our seniors would be able to use that meeting room for use, which is a great help for our seniors, because we're always looking for space on that. We also had a meeting, the administrator and I, with Meridian, and some talks about, we are getting a new civic center one way or the other because of the building they're putting in, and we're still in discussion of trying to convince them to give us a brand-new building instead of refurbishing the building we have. That building's old, it's seen better days. I think we've made a lot of progress. We're going to get a decision hopefully in the next month from them, and then we'll take it from there. But right now, unfortunately, the Civic Center is closed because with all this rain, we had a lot of leaks, and we're closing down the building. If there are any groups that are listening now that use the Civic Center and their town groups, we will offer the Alliance office across the street for use. Contact our clerk to set that up, but right now the Civic Center is closed until we fix it. Our argument is we don't, and that's why we had the meeting, we don't want to put all this money into repairing a roof if they're just going to tear the building down and not do it. So hopefully that moves forward and we have a better communication with that. We had some numerous meetings. I attended the planning board meeting last night, which was basically the same presentation that they gave today about the project. The next step for that project would go to redevelopment, and from redevelopment back to planning board. And they'll be talking more about how the building's going to be set up. I will tell you, in that project also, there's a lot of greenery. It's a big lot once you take everything out of it. They're going to put some walking paths down there, and I think it's going to be a nice looking project when they're all said and done. And that is, I'm going to read Councilman Cruz has a motion, I'm going to read that for him.
Can I ask you to make a change to that,
To what, to?
the motion?
Okay, well, you just read it then, you want to?
So do I just read it as I would like it amended then?
Oh, no, you got to ask what you want amended, yeah.
All right, so can you amend to include a rain date of Sunday, October 15th, following Sunday?
Rain date, Sunday, what's the date?
October 15th?
October 15th. All right, then I'll just read it then. Okay, this is Councilman Cruz is not here. Motion to approve the request of Jennifer Polidori and surrounding neighbors to host a block party on Walnut Avenue from Riverdale Boulevard to Willowfield Dead End on October 8th, rain date of Sunday, October 15th, from noon to 7 p.m. Can I have police, fire, first aid have been notified. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, that's all we had. Okay, Council President Polidori.
There's another motion.
There is, that's what I was looking for. Oh, okay, all right. Another motion. Motion to approve the request of Pompton Lakes Volunteer Fire Department to host a community function to celebrate the arrival of the new fire truck on Saturday, September 9th, 2023, at the fire department headquarters on Passaic Avenue to begin at 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. and to close Passaic Avenue between Hamburg Turnpike and Ramapo Avenue between 3 and 11. Can I have a second, please? Councilman DeLine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against. And that's, I don't know if you've been to one of these wet downs, they're a lot of fun. It's a great place to meet your neighbors, talk, and, we're bringing in a really nice fire truck here that it's impressive to see. When they were ordering it, they put me in this fire truck and took me to the top. I don't know how these firemen do it with all this equipment on. I was scared to be up there myself, and I had nothing on. So the fact that they're climbing these ladders is scary. Yeah, that's very scary, the way you put it, yes. But so I give the credit to all the world to go up that ladder was scary. Okay, Council President Polidori.
Thank you. First, I would like to say congratulations, and I am incredibly proud of our police department for receiving their accreditation this evening. It was so nice to see all of them here and to hear the presentation by Harry Delgado. I also want to welcome Hector Alcantara to the police department. I'm sure he will be an amazing asset to what is already an outstanding police department. I attended my first meeting as the incoming president-elect for our Pompton Lakes Rotary. Looking forward to our first fundraiser, which is our upcoming golf outing Proceeds of that event will be given to our own Pompton Reform Food Pantry as well as our Pompton Lakes Fire Department. So looking for an outstanding turnout. Always giving back to good causes. Rotary does a lot of work in town, so I thank them for their hard work. Excited to hear about the library grant. I love our library. Sorry?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I thought you were pointing at me, but.
No, I was just looking up. Wait.
Sorry.
Moving on. Looking forward to the senior picnic this weekend. It's always fun serving sandwiches and potato salad to our friends over at the Elks. That's always a nice day. And one quick follow-up question for our borough administrator. I had reached out to you regarding the request to start the removal process of the individual at 180 Whitney Ave who does sit on redevelopment, operating under the assumption that someone that sits on that board should have a working knowledge of zoning laws in town, and that was clearly a violation of zoning. Have we made any headway with that?
No, other than I've just started to look at the ordinance to see if in fact that matches the neglect of duty that's listed or the code of conduct. I'm not sure if the two are related.
Can we ask the attorney while we're sitting here, or is that something you want to work on separately?
I was going to contact you about that, Mark.
Can't talk about any
personnel matter. It shouldn't
So we
be-
didn't write.
Well, is it personnel? It's a volunteer position?
Yes,
But
yes.
it's still-
It still falls within Rice.
Okay.
Okay. But I would invite you to talk to Dina about that since it's analogous to an employment type issue.
Okay.
Okay? I certainly could facilitate that.
Okay, you know, I spoke to Dina today, so we're having a conversation.
Okay, good.
I'll talk to her.
And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. One thing I forgot to mention, and Councilwoman Kent brought this to my attention, with all this discussion about Councilman Begg, she suggested, and it was a good idea, to maybe reassign his liaisonships for this next month until we know what's going on. So I have a list here, and I'm going to throw them out there. If anybody's interested in picking up some of them, let me know. Now, I know Councilman Cruz is not here. We can always give him one and just not tell him. I'll start with...
So can I just, if it becomes difficult, I know the rest of you already have a long list of liaisonships. As council president, I'm not really assigned anything specific, so I don't mind picking up a bulk of that if it makes it easier.
All right, I'll throw it out there, and if nobody wants it, then you can take it. We'll start with the first one, is senior citizens. Anybody interested in that one or want that one? I've done it.
I'll take it.
Okay, so I'm gonna write your name down there for now. Finance, he's one of the members of Finance along with Councilwoman Kent and Councilman Venon. Anybody want that one? Interested? Anybody?
I'll do finance.
I'm sorry.
Jen is gonna do that one.
We still should have this documented by a motion, correct?
I'm gonna motion at the end, is that okay?
Yep, I just...
Board of Education, we do have two on that one already, so this one's not as important, but if somebody's interested in doing it, Bobby is the one that goes now to the meetings. If anybody's interested,
I'll take that one.
you want that one? The next one's police, fire, first aid. There's really not much done there, but there's somebody interested in that one?
I'm already a member.
What's that?
I'm already a member of that.
I think what we should do is make Councilman Venon the interim chair.
Yes, that's a good point. All right, so what I think, and Councilman Dolan brings up a good point. I'm gonna make Councilman Venon the chair of that, okay? And then, we'll look for a member. Is anybody interested in being the member of that? If not, I'll do it. It's not a big job, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
Give Bobby the,
Yeah, we'll make.
Oh, we'll make Bobby that,
We'll make
okay.
Councilman Cruz.
Good, sounds good. Okay,
And I'm told.
so that's that whole one, and then the last one is the bid. Maria, you interested in bid?
Yeah, because it's at 4 o'clock and I'm retired.
All right, so Maria will do the bid.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring that in my report. Okay, let's make can I have a motion to, set the standards of replacement of Councilman Begg's liaisonships for the next month at least, and then we'll talk more after that.
Well, why don't you say...
On date?
Why don't you say through his return or vacancy of the office?
Okay, through his return or vacancy of the office.
So moved.
Councilman Venon, have a second?
Second?
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against. And Liz, if you didn't get them, I have them here.
I will.
You got them all? Okay. Councilman Dolan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by congratulating our great police department on the accreditation. I work for the Borough of Glen Ridge, and I also, that town also recently received its accreditation. So I saw before the kind of work on a daily basis that it takes to get that done. So the fact that our wonderful town also received it is not a surprise, but certainly a huge accomplishment. And then I wanted to congratulate Officer Alcantara for his appointment as the police officer. He's joining an amazing force. Pretty quiet month, actually. The library board did not have a meeting. Tomorrow's redevelopment meeting has been canceled, maybe in August. There is sort of an application that's working through the technical process to getting ready to present in front of the redevelopment agency. This past Monday, I attended the bid meeting. Not much going on, but there were 23 water and sewer service markups.
MUA.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say MUA? It's one of those three-letter acronyms, but this was the MUA that I went to. So 23 water and sewer markouts for the month of July, or for the month of June rather. And one thing I did want to point out, if you haven't received this yet, the MUA employees have been through, are walking through town, they're knocking on doors. What they're trying to do is that they're inventorying the water lines that go into your house, from the curb stop to the water line. And there's a state law that every municipality has to inventory these lines to determine how many of these lines are made out of galvanized steel or lead material, and then those materials have to be replaced for public health safety reasons. So the biggest step is identifying where those lead or galvanized steel lines are. Hopefully you've got copper. If they haven't been by you, they've been leaving these hang tags on your door. There's multiple ways to do it. You can either scan the QR code. Most people have a smartphone by now. There is a web address to go just through a desktop computer if you need to use that. Or you can, if you don't feel comfortable, doing either, or you're not sure how to identify the material of your service line going into your water meter box, you can give them a call. They'll make arrangements to go into your house, check what material you are, document it, have you up and have it done. There's about 3,400 households in Pompton Lakes. They've done about 800 and 900, so they're getting to about a third of the way done. They have to have 100% compliance. Not sure what the next steps are. Some towns have actually taken the point of, if you haven't done this after a certain amount of time and you haven't responded, you received one of these and you haven't been responsive, it's subject to fines. We're obviously not going to that direction. We're trying to get compliance as best as possible. Fortunately, I don't think our homes are too old. We don't have too many old homes that we should have a lot of lead lines. But again, every little bit helps being responsive to this survey. They're knocking on your doors. They're wearing MUA shirts, so they are identifiable. So again, if you haven't done it already, I encourage you to really do so.
And just so make it clear to the residents, there's no cost to them.
Correct.
If they find one way or the other piping.
The replacement of piping, the way that the state law reads, it's basically the municipal responsibility to have that line replaced even on the private side of that water service line. Now, what the law has actually stated, and it's going to be probably a municipality by municipality decision, is the law has opened up the possibility of one of three things. You can do a capital project and say it's going to cost us $5 million or so in bond to replace all of these water lines. The town or the MUA really would be responsible for it. To replace all these water lines from, again, the curb stop into the water box in the house. We're going to pass off the entire cost to all the residents. So everybody takes a little bit of bite. Or what municipalities or the MUAs or other utilities can do is say, you know what, we've got 20 that we need to be replaced. It's not really fair to the 12,000 plus residents. That 12,000 residents have to pay for any of what amounts to 20 service lines. So we're putting an additional assessment on your house. And fundamentally, the homeowner ultimately pays for the project done on their property in another sort of manner.
And they haven't discussed how they're doing that yet?
That hasn't been discussed. Right now, they're focused on the inventory. All the lines do have to be replaced by 2033 or 2031, which was 10 years from the implementation of the law at the state level.
Okay,
So 8 years ago.
that doesn't sound happy. Councilwoman Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. I also very proud of the police department and the accreditation that they received tonight. It's quite the honor to be up here and watch all of our police officers receive that award. Thank them very much for all of their efforts that they do to keep us safe and keep our community in a good way. I met with the vendor that treats our lakes, Pompton Lakes and Twin Lakes. It appears that the lakes are really looking very good. A lot of the rain is helping, of course, keeps the water levels up, especially in the Pompton Lakes. But if anybody sees any kind of vegetation starting to grow, if you're a boater, if you're at the lakes, just let Paula know, or you can let me know, and he comes as needed. It's very hard to treat a lake when you have a lot of rain. So he comes and he checks, and if it's not a lot of rain, then they'll treat. I also attended the Shade Tree Commission meeting. They do a tremendous amount of work. They are very focused on planting. It's going to be planting season soon. One of the biggest problems I think that we're having this year is that the infestation of some of the emerald ash borer. They've taken 11 beautiful trees, older trees down in Hirschfield Park. That's a very big expense that they weren't expecting. So they're going to be working on that. Hopefully they'll maybe get more funding somewhere down the line. And the lantern fly is a real pest. My 6-year-old granddaughter figured out, she says, "Oh, look, Grandma, there's a lantern fly sitting right there." So everybody knows about these things. So if you see them, please, try to take, at least let the shade tree people know if you have infestation on any of your trees. And I do believe they are getting calls on that. So thank you for that cooperation. Our civic center is closed, Mayor. There's the only place you can go now is one place uptown. That's it.
Well, only for town
Only for
groups.
town? Okay.
Outside groups, we're not going to allow to use the thing right now.
Okay.
But like I'll use the example. I know baseball and soccer meet there. They'll be allowed to go over to the.
Is there enough room?
Yeah, they'll have to make it work.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I was just going to ask our administrator if the Heimel property has been, the Heimel property? Mr. Heimel?
I have given our attorney the go-ahead, and he's...
Okay, so you're going to update us?
I've been in contact with Mr. Heimel. At the end of last week, he asked me to send him the most recent appraisal. I'm going to send that to him.
He put in an Oprah request for it. and
He got it yesterday.
Okay, well, then I won't give it to him. But I'll email him and let him know that it was responded to. And that was the most recent one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
He got it.
okay, good, because I know we owe him an answer on that. And then as far as the Recreation Commission, again, as Jennifer said, they're this Saturday, the 22nd. If you're 62 and over, please come and have lunch at the Elks, and it's a wonderful afternoon. We have a lot of fun, and I will be serving with you, and probably Liz will be there. So a few of us help, and it's a lot of fun. There's the big concert at the Pompton Lakes Library, which will be July 20th. Tomorrow? Yeah, oh yeah, that's right, wow. Middle school camp ended, and we want to thank Eileen Allen and Sam Lornick, where they had 8 children, and they had a great time with the camp, I think that was field hockey. And then we had the Pompton Lake Rec High School field hockey camp with the TNCJ coaches, and that will end on Friday, the 22nd. And a big thank you to Sharon Pluger and her coaches. They had a great time, they said, and Atina Brindy for helping out in this program. Summer camp, as the mayor said, has 175 children. They've done an amazing job trying to shift these children now, early in the morning, try to figure out whether it's going to be raining were sunny, and a shout out to the Pompton Lake Elks. They did an amazing job accommodating these children, and if you look on our social media, when you see 170 kids sitting behind tables, and looked so calm, you know they're doing something correct. And so thank you very much for the Elks, and of course the Board of Eds, because they do use the schools as well. And that is my report.
Thank you. That you brought up the school, I forgot to mention from our report, and I'm sure the administrator was probably going to mention it. We did work out an agreement about hiring the special threes, which would be the police officers going into the schools. So the next step will be interviewing by the police department and a coordination between our police department and the school system to hire them. We're shooting for September, October to have an officer in every school. That would be permanent, full-time. And that's a deal that's cooperated. The school is paying for it, but it has to be done through the police department. So it's a cooperative effort, and I thank everybody involved with that. There was a lot of emails back and forth about how that happened. So I know some of the parents have been asking me when that will happen, as soon as we can. And then you did mention the senior picnic. It's open to anybody 62 and older. It's at the Elks Lodge. You're more than welcome to come down. And I forgot to also mention National Night Out. We won't be here. We'll be August 1st. Right here in the Pond Hall. This police do a great job. If you haven't been to that event, a lot of stuff going on there. Always a fun event, a lot of free food if you're hungry. What's that?
High school parking lot.
High school parking lot, right. And you're welcome to come down. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate and welcome Officer Alan Contra for being appointed tonight, and also the Pompton Lakes Police Department for their accreditation status. When I went through my master's thesis, I was able to observe another police department who had been accredited. So seeing how professional and what they had gone through to get that status, I appreciate how much work that takes. And that is my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Report, you have any report? Professional report?
No, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, I think that we covered what I would have discussed already.
Okay, and just so we clarify, the Heimel project is moving forward, and both parties are acceptable of agreement, and we're just moving forward.
No.
No, okay.
I made an offer to him, and he asked for the appraisal in response to that. Now that he has the appraisal by virtue of the Oprah, I'll reach out to him and see what he's at.
Okay, great, thank you. Minister's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just really, again, reiterate how great it is, the work that all of the police officers did to achieve what they did. And it's always wonderful to see, no matter how many times a new officer do take the oath of office, so congratulations.
And then, by the way, I didn't mention in the talk, that officer was a dispatcher for us for many years.
Yes, he was. I also just want to bring to your attention, I did receive some good news today from Mr. Joseph Scupian, who is the foremost expert on hydrology. He emailed me back with regard to the concern of opening up the culvert of the Dawes Highway Bridge. And in his exact words, this man, first of all, I'm just going to say what a gentleman he was on the phone, and so kind and open. He was busy, very busy. He had multiple screens when he spoke to me, and he said, Paula, I'm very familiar with Pompton Lakes, and I will do what I can to help the town.
And he's been here before, and he does a great job. He's really an expert in the field.
He already has looked at some FEMA's computer models through flood insurance studies for Pompton Lakes, and he'd be happy to discuss helping the borough.
Great.
So I set up a phone call with him tomorrow at 11.
Good.
So that was really great to hear. I also got a phone call from Assemblyman Weber's office to inform us that the motor vehicle truck will be present here on August 28th. I'll provide more information at the next meeting.
All right, so
and for folks who want to register for a real ID, they're very hard to come by. You have to get an appointment.
So just let me add, so, because I spoke with Assemblyman Weber about this. This is by appointment only. You can't just show up at this event, even though it'll be parked here. You have to go online and make an appointment to get, you can get a license, you can do all your MV stuff, you can also get the ID, but it has to be by appointment only. You cannot just show up and have it done.
And I'll make sure that this is posted on our social media pages, as well as I'll let you know at the next council meeting when that information is available. The borough also has an opportunity. The federal government is releasing, I believe, 4.5, I don't know how much, billion dollars to the nation.
Bit of a difference there, million or billion.
Big difference, a lot of money. We're releasing a lot of money to the nation. It's a competitive grant program for resilient, it's called the Resilient Communities Program. And it's something that we're going to apply for. It's for infrastructure upgrades to minimize flood-related natural hazards. One of the things that's of interest to me is they'll actually pay for infrastructure in terms of moving the DPW building out of a floodway. We just need to find some land. So we gotta work on that, but, you know, the grant is there, and this money is specifically targeted for that purpose. So I'm gonna continue to keep an eye on that. The borough just received its tax rate today. Just to let you know how your taxes are broken down, 19% of your tax dollars go to the county, 24% go to the borough, and 57% go to the Board of Education. That's just the breakdown of your tax rate. The total tax rate is 3.835. So we're going to be printing tax bills. Just as advice, tax bills are due 25 days after the date stamped on that envelope. So keep that in mind. If any resident that submits payment after that 25-day period, interest is assessed back to August 1st. So those bills will be going out. I also wanted to add about the accreditation also. Yes, there is a savings to our premium with the JEF.
Any questions for the administration? Nope. Right before I go to the public, I just gotta, we all know this, look at all the rain we've had in the last 3 weeks, and look at all the devastation that's happened all around us. The old Pompton Lakes probably would have been underwater at this point. With all the work that this council has done over the last 5 years, with all the help of everybody involved, we're not getting rid of flooding, but we have, knock on wood, we haven't flooded with all this rain. You know, and we got some large numbers of rain. We got, 3 inches, 4 inches on some days, and the water came out, if you watch the graphs, was out of the Ramapo, but didn't get into the streets too much. So maybe what we're doing is actually working, and that's why this Dawes Highway project that they're talking about is so important, to change the flow of that water, to get more water to flow downstream. The more we can open that up, the wider we can get that to be, more water flows down. We shouldn't be the stopping point because the state says Pompton Lake should be the stopping point for the water. So that's a big deal, and that's why we're hiring Mr. Scupian, who knows what he's talking about when it comes to this. Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Council President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public like to address? Seeing no one? No, good. Yes, you.
You just know it,
I just assumed.
Just a curious question, Brady hitting 443 Montclair Avenue. You tabled ordinance 2326 to August. I couldn't really hear. Why did you table it?
We just want to put some more information together about it. There's some,
cats and dogs?
Yeah, cats and dogs, and the state has some guidance on it, and our attorney has some guidance on it, and Eric had brought
I
it
think
to our
there's gonna be
attention.
some alternatives that can be suggested that would dilute it a bit from being so extreme.
Just curious about that. I got a phone call today from our administrator on an issue I had brought up previously about Clary Hugh Lane, and she straightened me out pretty much as to what they did, and I just want to thank her for all her work on that project. There was a lot of work involved in that.
There's a lot of work involved.
And it's
still working.
And
So
I
yes,
just
she's
want to
put a lot
thank
of
her
time
very
into that.
much for all the work that she did.
She did a lot with that, yes.
Just another question for our administrator. When is the repaving going to start of some of the roads in town?
The contracts, one contract's been executed. The engineers have already been out on Lincoln Ave, Phase 2, to start the surveying, looking at drainage and whatnot. I don't anticipate work really beginning until September, because by the time we go out to bid, award bid, and work commencing, I'm going to say we're realistically September.
Okay, just curious about that because I didn't see on our end of town, my end of town, Hirschfield Street was one of the streets on the repaving.
Yes.
So I didn't see anything started on that. Just curious about that. Ordinance 2327 that we've been talking about, of the senior housing.
Oh, okay.
And approximately right now, 50 apartments. The development behind the municipal building, approximately 200 apartments. 50 at Salvation Army. Possibly it's come before redevelopment as far as the ice cream station and that property going to Wanacue Ave. Gentleman across the street from me on Montclair Ave wanted to put apartments over there, but that may not go through. New car wash. We've had so much going on, and I've been to redevelopment meetings and never heard a word from anybody of the MUA as far as capacity for storage.
They're part of every plan, and it has to be approved.
Right, they're probably part of every plan, but haven't heard anything in any meeting about that.
Yeah, they sign off on every project saying we have capacity or don't, and they'll talk to the developer saying, look, we don't think we do, and this is what you have to do, or yes, we do, and we can move forward with it. Right now,
we're not a lot of water and sewage.
Right now, they
The first
cover.
line of defense, you don't get anything unless you have water and sewer.
That's actually,
You wanna say something?
that's a condition that's put into every land use approval, every resolution has that as a condition of approval.
Okay, it's just that I haven't seen it in any of the meetings.
So the best place to find out about that is actually the MUA meeting. So the attorney, Jeffrey Cassover, he provides the MUA members a development report, basically on a monthly basis, because the principal interest of the MUA is water and sewer capacity, the effect of these developments on the existing water and sewer capacity, changes that need to be made to the water sewer capacity, for example, the Capadega project, 200 units. As part of that agreement, and they've got their own agreements with that development. Basically, as part of that agreement is once that development gets its full building permit to start building, they have to access the water and sewer to the MUA. They won't be able to tie in until they basically cut a check for at least $150,000. And then that money is also going to be used to upgrade the pump house that services that building. So these things are constantly being discussed. They take a look at it. This particular project had state requirements that they had to jump through to show that there was sufficient water capacity. Units in the realm of 20 units, 30 units. Obviously, you have to monitor it because it adds up. But they are aware of it. They are monitoring it. They check it. And they're in conversations with the developer because they are reviewing the developer's utility paperwork, basically. The set of plans that the site plan would review by planning board or redevelopment agency, they're reviewing the utilities associated with that development, make sure it's the right size, things like that. So the MUA is constantly tied in, but MUA meets every third Monday at 6 p.m. and they do go over this, and it's open to the public, so you're welcome to attend.
I have been to those meetings before.
And let me just add too, they're making a pretty penny on this redevelopment also. They're bringing in large sums of money off all these projects that you just mentioned, which is supposed to go back into upgrading, like you mentioned, the systems. So, we're lucky here that our bills are not crazy high when it comes to water and sewer, and these projects help stabilize that too. So, they are making money on these projects also.
Good. We were talking about spotted lanternfly before, and I was working with Dan O'Rourke to spot locations. There's quite a few right behind the building here. I told him about it, so when we finally get a contractor in to spray. But walking around Joe Brill Field and Carlo Field, there is some infestation there also. But walking around those fields, there's a lot of dead ash trees in there that I brought up at the last shade tree meeting. We have a great liaison, Councilwoman Kent, and I know that you and I talk behind the scenes here, closed sessions, as to we may need $1 or $2 more for all these trees that are out there.
You still have money in your budget?
Well, we might go over that. So I just want to inform the council
Safety first.
that this is a problem. Okay? And I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, about the river work and all the rain that we have. And, give a little credit to the shade tree. We took a lot of trees down
Yes,
in the
all
neighborhood.
those groups that are involved, of course. Every group, and I didn't mention any group by name, but I'm saying all the groups helped with that.
Gotta put my 2 cents in there. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Lisa Kilberg, 158 Mountainside Drive. I just have a quick question about the redevelopment projects. Sure. Because you said something about a pump station. So do all of them have a pump station?
Well, there's some kind of pump station that has to service each individual location. Some, like your house. Your
So
townhouse
ours,
has a pump.
yes,
Yeah, so
that's
there's
why,
some-
I'm not sure if everybody knows what that is, but I would think it's great for everybody else in town because it catches everything that's not supposed to be flushed or put down the drain. And then we have to, like, so if somebody clogs it, the people who, like, in our development, the development has to pay
Right.
to unclog it, but nothing gets in the sewer. So that's great for people to know if they all have it. That's,
So on larger projects, like the ones he's talking about, yes, they're
Yeah.
definitely gonna look at those. For the smaller ones, they're just gonna see if they have capacity enough to handle it and move on. They probably won't rebuild it, but extra dollars are coming in from those smaller projects that are going to the MUA that they can then spend on where they see fit to do things.
so you're saying like for the 50 unit one, they might not put a
They don't
pump
usually replace, anything with a 50 or so, it has to be in the hundreds where they'll start saying, look, part of your job when you build this is you gotta rebuild this thing too.
Okay.
Because of the water volume.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
Dennis Gilbert, 158 Mountainside Drive. It's more of a request. The sign when you come into, Wanacue Avenue from the Bell, it says, stop for pedestrians. It's the law. It's a little confusing.
You're talking about the digital sign?
Yeah. I think it's confusing people because people are stopping in the middle of the street for people who want to cross, and I almost got hit from behind the other day. That's not really what the law states. You have to stop for a pedestrian inside a crosswalk.
Right.
If they're coming out in the middle of the street, you don't have to stop for them. They're jaywalkers. Of course you don't want to.
No, you still have to stop.
But if they're looking to cross,
You can't run them over, is that what I'm saying?
but if they're looking to cross, like they're coming in between cars and they're looking to
Yes,
cross.
it is jaywalking.
Slamming on their brakes. Technically, you don't have to.
No,
stop.
but they should be stopped. I'm gonna say this, they should be, and they shouldn't be jaywalking either, so
They shouldn't be
those are the
jaywalking,
two
so,
things.
yeah,
And they should be crossing at crosswalks.
I don't know if you know, Paul, there is a program, Cops in a Crosswalk.
We did.
The PD has done it.
We've done it. There's
Yeah.
a grant that you can get if you put like undercover cops in a crosswalk, or you could put undercover cops out there that target jaywalkers.
We have, actually.
You have done.
Yes, we have
Okay.
done that.
All right, that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Please step up.
I say no.
You did. Mike Simone, 25 West Lennox. First of all, thank you for working out something with an expert on the flooding for Dawes Highway. I think it's a big mistake what the county's trying to do, and when you think about it, they're going to be replacing the small bridges that are over behind Max and the one in the Hirschfield Park, and they're putting single span bridges in and taking out the center columns so they don't obstruct, which is gonna quote unquote allow water to flow through. And then they turn around and say, hey, we can't do that on Dawes Highway because it's gonna let water flow through. So whatever the expert can do to discourage them from putting in a restrictive replacement would be really, really helpful. And hopefully you get support from our representatives in the state, federal government, and Wayne and whoever else we can get to make sure that happens. So thanks for that. This one, I'm not sure how to ask this question properly, and I'm not sure, maybe I'm a little confused on it, but we have a property maintenance officer in town, and we have a building department with a zoning officer, and they're charged with responding to problems that may happen with properties. We're a small town with a lot of small lots, and a lot of people have taken advantage of things that maybe they should or shouldn't have, I don't know. But what I'm confused about is and I'm not sure which house we're talking about here, but somebody's emphasizing to a great degree one property in this whole town that happens to have a structure built over their property line. Now, I'm not sure how anyone found that out, because quite honestly, I don't go around looking at my neighbor's properties to say, oh my God, look what he did. But somehow or other, that one house seems to be a focus of someone who is awfully aggressive about it, wanting to know exactly what's going on, why not something not being done sooner. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind this is, because I've never seen that in the town before. If something has gone amiss, and you tell somebody in the building department and they work on it. But why are we aggressively going after one house with one, I'll call it miscalculation or whatever they did? I don't know. But I don't believe that's correct in our town to be doing it that way. I don't know why we're up here pursuing this thing like somebody broke some extreme law and it's causing major problems. So I would just like to know if we really should be addressing it here, and it shouldn't be addressed simply at the place it's supposed to be addressed, which is the building department. So
what I'll say is, I agree with what you're saying, but every resident has a right to bring up anything they
of course
want
they do.
from the
Of
podium.
course they do. I don't understand why this one particular house out of, 3,500 houses is being picked on to the point where every time I come to a meeting, somebody's here objecting to what went on and why this isn't being done. Why haven't they moved it already? What's going on? What are they being fined? You know, it's like, what's the reason for the aggressiveness on one house? When if you went around town, you could probably find hundreds that have something wrong if you want to look.
I can't answer that question.
Well, it's not a good question to answer, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I don't see what the reasoning is for this one house being singled out and the aggressiveness for it. And whoever even found out about that, I don't know how you would find that out. You know, I don't know how did somebody do a survey? I don't know. It just seems very unusual, and I'm not happy about that kind of thing in this town.
And like I said in the beginning, it's a building department concern.
Exactly.
They will deal with it. They have procedures put in place on how they handle this and other complaints we get many of these kind of complaints. This is not unusual that someone says the fence is too high, the shrubs are too close to the curb, whatever it is. And they have procedures in place that they have to.
I just hope there's no ulterior motives going on, that's all. It just seems odd. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Devine?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Privilege of the floor, anybody have privilege of the floor? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett, Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you everyone for attending. Next meeting is a month.
Suggest to the program.